All right, good morning, people. Bob here, back once again, preparing to break down some Bitcoin. Let's get right down to it. I want to start out with the daily view here, and I think it's time to go ahead and adjust this trend line because I think it's safe to say that this actually did play out much more like a rising wedge than anything, given that we're now breaking down out of that pattern, or technically have been for a few days now. Here's I wanted to start out here because I'm just kind of mentally thinking about everything that we're looking at here, and I guess basically where I wanted to start out by saying is look back to what we had here, right? We had 20 some days of sideways price action before this. Well, let's take a look at this right now. Let's take a look at this. Currently four straight red days. Okay, what happened when we started losing things here is that we started to string together multiple red days, and here, I guess we could say we're retesting the low from here, which we talked about that yesterday as far as like this potentially holding up. And it may still for a little bit, but I'm looking at this and I don't love the look of this chart right now. I mean, you can see, again, anytime you start going into these like multi-day downtrends, they eventually start to... Now, this one here kind of reversed course a little bit, but not significantly, right? Like, if you look over here where my cursor is pointed, it did four straight red days and then two green ones, but it still had lower price points than even once you hit here. Like, this was a lower price point day, this was a lower price point day. So I don't have a great deal of faith that at the moment that this thing's gonna bounce up out of here. I mean, I'm looking at the chart trying to figure out how it would make sense for it to even be looking at it and think that it could at the moment. And I'm just struggling to see it. I mean, again, this would be it. This would get us essentially a double bottom right here. But it's got to hold on to that price point for another 11 hours. So that seems questionable. Now we come down here to the RSI. We basically got what should have been expected. We got a rising wedge that formed. We break out of it. Here we are. If we wanted to go ahead and do some work here, we could say, all right, well, cool. Let's say we did fall out of this pattern. What's a measured move? Let's say it fell out right there. All of a sudden, we're back down here at 18.2. And that lines up to a few other things I've looked at here. But again, I mean, this is not instilling any confidence at the moment that this is going to produce anything but more downside right this moment, right? I mean, again, maybe Bitcoin holds on here. I mean, you got the RSI right here was a lower value than what it is here, so that could potentially lead to bullish divergence. But my thing would be, do we see it come and just dump through here first, then get a bullish divergence and then kind of come up, or does it happen now and then this actually turns into something that looks greenish today? Questionable. I don't know. I don't necessarily see that being the case as of this moment. I don't know how this candle would turn green as I'm looking at it as it stands right now. So I wanted to start out with the daily chart just because, again, I've got some concerns about the fact that we're just stringing together these red days and eventually they break down, right? Like they end up looking like this a lot of times when you string that many together. Same idea here. Let's see, can we find more of the same? Here we're three, some more downside, three. So I mean, I'm looking at this chart and I'm saying, today could be fairly brutal, honestly, and we'll see what it ends up actually looking like. But it doesn't look good to start. So we'll start there. Let's go ahead and we'll jump in on some shorter-term time frames here and see what we're working with. 4 hour would suggest that, this thing doesn't look good either. I mean, you got, the nice thing was, I guess, that Bitcoin did, the close, 20,102. So the close did come in above this level, which was a positive. Because that would mean that this candle technically could actually reverse course out of there. But a lot of times you get a sweep of the lows again. So I won't be surprised if we come down here and retest these lows. And then I'd like to think that, again, we should at least get some upside push here before, if we're going to roll over. I mean, I'd like to think we at least get something that gives the bulls some faith before another rollover takes place. But as of now, again, you can see here RSI, trend line. Here was the first bounce that led to the initial movement of Bitcoin. We did not get a bounce over here, and in fact fell right through. And now we came below it, bearish retested in this area, and continued downside. 4 hour doesn't look great. I mean, the stochastic RSI is curled up, which is nice. If I dropped a line across here, whenever these trigger lines cross a line, if I was to drop it right here, that would be a positive sign. However, again, it's not happening right now, right? You can see that we're below this 20,064, and that's not really where we want to be. We did get another similar situation over here, but I'd say the biggest difference there is that the RSI was up in at least neutral territory, whereas right this moment it has already crossed below the bearish control territory. We're below 40. So again, we're actually in bearish control right now. So I don't necessarily have a massive amount of faith again that this is that positive for us at the moment. You can see here where it was buried down in this oversold territory for a fairly significant amount of time in here. So I mean, it's possible it could stay that way. And then again, I mean, what does it just magically jumps up out of here, resumes this uptrend? Possibly. I mean, I guess I can't rule it out, but it doesn't look amazing, right? We got something that looks like it could be potentially a falling, broadening wedge, at which point this should be close to the final move to the downside from it. 1, 2, 3 moves to the downside. So it's feasible. This thing's got something that could happen. I mean, if I'm looking at it realistically, and I'm being honest with myself, I don't see it there. At least not at the moment. Hourly, this is the Heiken Ashi chart, but and it's slightly set up differently. But I'd say that's basically what we're working on right now. Now the hourly at least paints a slightly different picture. You've got a possible bullish MACD cross incoming. Stochastic RSI is a buy. Probably the main issue would be the fact that you've got this, higher high right here as far as the price action, and yet the stochastic RSI has a higher value there, which potentially in a downtrend means hidden bearish divergence. You can see here I ignore this top number, the green one. That's this red number that is where we're actually at the moment. So we're back slightly below 20,000. Yeah, I mean, again, Bitcoin just not showing any signs of strength here, but at least on the hourly, I could make the argument that there are signs that could point to a resumption of some level of upside. I just don't, again, I don't see it being blatantly obvious here on the chart. So I'm not really counting on an immediate return here. Yeah, I mean, there's not a time frame I can look at right now that suggests that we're ready to haul back to the upside. Hourly, again, I can make some arguments that there's some positive upside that could be in there, but probably capped at about 20,268 at the moment, 250-ish. The 1 hour is still going through a crash pattern. Right now, we've still got the death cross already took place. So that was over here. But now we still got the 80 and the 100 that still have to cross the 2. The 80 is currently in the process. So there's a strong chance that we see a downside push by the 80 here as we proceed. And then maybe some level of rebound. But as you can see, I mean, as these crosses are happening, there's really not been much positive upside. This was really kind of a bullish fake out right here. Realistically, when this cross started happening, it should have never crossed back above. Not never, but I mean, it's it would have been it was the most unlikely scenario, and instead we got that. And then, as you can see now, as opposed to Bitcoin recovering as these crosses are happening, it's just not recovering at all. So I think this early recovery kind of set the tone for what we're seeing right now. Now, if this is an expanding, broadening wedge, and it does come back below this line, which would be kind of problematic. This is like our bullish line right now, right? This is our breakout, our back test, and right now that back test looks to be in jeopardy. Really, I guess really as far as it goes, the only thing I can say is that hopefully this does give us some upside here. But again, it's probably capped to here, or maybe best case scenario here, at which point we probably roll over. Unless we get, a stronger bounce. I mean, this was a nice hourly double bottom with what I would say is bullish divergence. I mean, it's not quite, just because the levels are slightly off. It did, in fact, put in a slightly lower low. But I don't know that it's sufficiently enough to say that it wasn't at least a slight bullish divergence. And then again, we got a few things that potentially could go our way, but all in all, I mean, it doesn't look amazing right now. And I just don't see an immediate path to green on the board at the moment. So, and again, not to say it will not happen. I mean, again, there are signs that point to that it could, but let's go over to my shortest term trading chart, and we'll take a look. I mean, here's the 15. The Heiken Ashi shows that there is a negative momentum that is in play right now. Maybe, just maybe, we're lucky in this 15-minute candle here coming up. Maybe not this one, but the next one, and maybe the one that follows that. Maybe will give us a bounce right there and push us up through here. But as you can see, it's tested this line several times now, which is kind of the line that split yesterday's price action. That's the 15-minute. It doesn't look good. The 5-minute, same idea. I mean, I could draw a line across here. Maybe it gets some upside push, but again, it's below every moving average on the 5-minute chart. Hell, even the 1 minute. I mean, here, this little tiny double bottom, and it maybe rounds out into an inverse head and shoulders. Again, you're still going to come up here, and for the moment, you're going to have rejections from these moving averages. The only way I see anything positive playing out here in the short term would be if this thing ends up being a small double bottom. That gets us a move up to around here, which could potentially lead to a breakout of that trend line. But what are we talking here? I won't stand this 5 or the 1 minute chart, but what are we talking here? Let's say that it gives us a full measured move from back here, and we're still only, like I said, we're still only talking about getting back to this 20,389 range. So this is not amazing. I don't know. Maybe we get this little 5-minute double bottom. That's going to be the only thing. But again, we're trying to turn around based on some very small moves. You can see that the hourly, the RSI is already starting out down, being rejected by the oversold level. It's already starting down, which is typical. If you're gonna start a trend to the upside, first you typically will need to back test a low, but we're already below the low from the prior hour minus the wick. So yeah, I mean, just a lot of things I see here that just don't look amazing at the moment. And really just kind of, I guess it doesn't really matter to us one way or the other whether the market's going to go up or down. But if we enjoy positive price action more, which we do, shorting the market's cool and all, but everybody gets more excited when it's moving to the upside. Then if that's what we're looking for, then right now it's just not obvious. Again, unless magically this thing goes ahead and holds here, we get another push, hope that it gets above this line, and then all of a sudden we are breaking out up into these ranges and maybe get ourselves a little push up all the way to in this range, or and then if things get real exciting, we break back above this line. I would say this, like if we closed an hourly candle above this 20,390-ish range, that suddenly becomes a long situation because you're recovering the loss of a fairly major level there, or even this 20,060-ish range, just because of the fact that again we've got that shown over here on this chart that 20,064 potentially is an important level for us as well. Tough to say. Tough to say. Let's see what some of our other tools here maybe say about it. Yeah, I mean, based off of this guy here, it's still showing obviously that this is a major support resistance level, 20,313. So, and then here, if we zoom in a little further, this is showing that this is the line in the sand, right? So it confirms what we're talking about, that this 20,064 is basically a very important number. Got to get it back. Got to get it back here and got to hold it over more than just a 5-minute period of time. So we'll see how it all goes. With any luck, we could start to see some upside here again. And like I said, probably upside limitations to here or maybe here. We're going to need a breakout if we're going to go anything above that. So now on the 4-hour, I guess we could say that at least we've got this cross that's already taking place, or not, or we could say that it's taken place, right? Which that's always a negative cross there when the 21 crosses the 50. That's always negative for price action. But, after that cross takes place, might start to see, the 21 drawing the price action back up to it. So there's a feasibility there as well. But yeah, I mean, all in all, things don't look amazing. We'll just kind of cover it that way. Things do not look incredible, but you never know. We could at least see a temporary turnaround. I don't come over here very often, and I think I did yesterday just to point out, hey, at least or within the last few days for sure. But we've got a situation. Maybe this is a falling wedge forming, so maybe it does get rejected here, kind of rolls over. Maybe that would give us some positive upside. Again, I don't know that that's necessarily a reasonable assessment to make at the moment, but who knows? I mean, it's this thing just keeps bouncing into bullish territory, though. It just refuses to give up. And last time it bounced down here, it kind of rolled over a little bit, and then boom, hard to the upside. So eventually it has to lose this uptrend. It does. Eventually it does. It just hasn't lost it yet. Would love to see it come down below this line here very soon, because that would mean that we can expect much more amazing or impressive things from the market than what we're seeing right now. The one positive, at least from an alts standpoint, so anything not called Bitcoin, is that Bitcoin has been falling hard here recently in terms of the dominance, the share that it makes up of the market. Here, it's finally starting to recover just a little bit, but you can start to see, like, once you get into this oversold territory, how that starts to move, and then eventually it pops. So we're going to be keeping an eye out for that for sure, because this is the on-off switch for altcoin trading. Now, the reality is this thing should, it broke up out of a pattern that was ultimately a bearish pattern to begin with, and, depending on how you want to look at the overall patterns. But so it's feasible this thing comes up, gets rejected, and then just continues the cascade down. That would give us a beautiful July if that's going to happen. We shall see. We shall see. But yeah, long story short, I think the moral of the story becomes at the moment just that we're going to need to see, Bitcoin's going to have to show us something here. And right now, it has not shown us anything but downside as far as what has made sense. But again, let's go ahead and recover this 21 moving average here. Maybe we get a nice little upside kick. That'll get us back above that 20,060 level that we're talking about, which potentially gets us a little bit of upside here, again here, potentially. So let's see it. Let's see what you got, Bitcoin. Show me something here. Appreciate you guys as always. Be looking forward to catching up again here tomorrow. In the meantime, enjoy the day. We'll be looking for the big gains.